y'all. Am I on? Can you all hear me? No? Yes. I usually have a loud enough voice I don't need a mic, but we're going to use the mic tonight because we are at the 100th episode of the Conversation Piece podcast. Thank you all so much for coming. I didn't wait for an applause, but I should have and let you applaud it there. Anyways, I am your host, Patrick Armstrong, and we explore on this show the missing pieces of the conversations that we are already having. I want to thank you all for being here tonight. It really means a lot to me that you have shown up to make this a special event. Before I get into some of these opening remarks, I do just want to say that if you've been following me for the last few years, you know that I've been talking about my journey with identity and particularly with finding the definition of home, figuring out how to define what home means for me. And for a long time, home was always the cliche, the people, the place that I was at, no matter where I was, the people that were with me and that I carried with me were home. However, I was always looking for that literal physical place. The place that I grew up wasn't necessarily that. Indy, the times that I was here, wasn't always that. And Chicago, even when we were there, wasn't always that. But mid last year, I had a revelation that I realized I was in Indianapolis for a reason, and that I think that that was the place that I was supposed to be doing the work that I was supposed to be doing. And I can say now, 6 months on from that time, 6 months on from starting my therapy journey, and 6 months on from starting the year of the nap on the show, I feel like I can finally say that Indy feels like home. And being here with all of you, being here with the people that have been on the show, people who are part of my life for my entire life, or people that I've not met yet, y'all make this place feel like home and have helped me find that place. So thank you for that, and I appreciate it. Before we get into it, I do want to make some quick shout outs. First off, I want to shout out my fam. My wife, Emily, and my son, Van, are back here. Van, you'll never see on the gram, so this is your only chance. Do not take pictures of his face and post them. I will find you. My parents are also here, Kevin and Cheryl. Shout out to them. They came up here from Delphi, if y'all know where that is. I also want to shout out Kelsey Jones and keeping up strategic comms. Without her, I would not have been able to put this together. So thank you for helping me do that. I want to shout out to Miranda and the Tinker House team. This is a dope venue. We were here for a wedding last year, and I knew that I wanted to do an event here for the pod. Shout out to Nigel, DJ Grapevine on the ones and twos. Shout out to Frida's Flowers for this amazing installation that we have here that you'll be able to take home with you tonight as well. For the folks that popped out, Fee Ford and Style by Fee back here, and Terrell and Ujama Bookstore. Thank y'all for coming out. Make sure you go check them out and support them as well. Part of what we do here on the show, the reason we're doing Naptown stuff is because we want to support the people that make the city what it is and do the things in the city that we love to see and we love to take part in. I also want to shout out Best Chocolate in Town. Carrie's not here right now, but she has snacks over there for you as well to take home. One more quick announcement. I've got this shirt on. I've been posting about it today, but we have our first piece of merch. If you've been listening to the show for any amount of time, I've been shouting out merch that was coming for probably the last 2 years, the last year, and we finally have it. This is an exclusive collaboration tee between myself and LaStar Jackson, St. Avenue. Ever since I saw his work at All-Star this past year, I knew that I wanted to work with him on some sort of merch item, and I've always appreciated not only his commitment to detail, but the intersectionality and intentionality that he puts into all of his work. This shirt in particular is highlighting not just this particular moment, but is also talking about the intersections of these brands, not only mine and his, but as a city. And on the back is jersey style. So I am a big basketball fan, big sports fan, but big basketball fan regardless. And when I saw his work with Fitz, Art by Fitz, if you know him, I knew that I needed to have not something the same, but similar, something that cool. And I really think that he has hit it on the head with this. So if you want these shirts, if you want a shirt, we have a limited run of 99, and they will be available for purchase right after this for $30 a shirt if you're open to it. So that is that. Okay. Tonight's show is going to be a little bit different. Normally, I am sitting up here talking to someone else, and I'm having a conversation with them about what it is that they do, what makes Indy home for them, and what part of the conversation that they're involved in that they really want to highlight to make sure that we're taking a chance to focus on. As I was thinking about how we were going to do 100, I was thinking of all the high-profile guests that I could have come on. And I realized that one of the other reasons I do the show is community. And I wouldn't be able to do this show without the community that I've found and the people that helped me put the show on. And so I knew that the only appropriate way to celebrate this episode was to do it by having my team up here with me to tell you about why we do the show and what we're going to be doing moving forward. So without further ado, I'm going to ask Mike Lee and John Overton of the Conversation Piece podcast team to come up and join me. Give them a round of applause, folks. Oh, too far. What's up, y'all? Dap it up. Okay. Nope. Josh hearted me. All right. Thank y'all. I'm going to stand right here for a second because we are not just gonna be sitting up here alone. To lead us through the next 30 minutes or so of conversation, of figuring out what it is that we do here and what we're gonna continue to do on this show, I can think of no better person than the person who made this incredible installation, the person who's become an unofficial member of our team, Madeline MacKinnon. I told you, 8 minutes. I said I was gonna try and keep it 3, and it was 8. So that is it for me, Madeline. I'm gonna let you take it away.
Amazing. Thank you for having me. Can we give it up for Patrick for welcoming us? I'm excited about this conversation because personally, this show has been important to me. I think this show has been an invitation for Indianapolis to ask some really good questions, to connect on levels that maybe we're not used to. Like a podcast is such a unique way to connect with people and to hear people's stories. I think you can get a lot out of people by like sitting with them. And so, and Patrick talks about this, it's an honor to, like, our stories are sacred, right? The people that are sitting in front of us are sacred. And so how do we honor that well? And I think that you've done a really excellent and brilliant job honoring that. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. I want to get started tonight. We've got about 30 to 45 minutes. And if I go over, please like do the little like watch thing. But I like often run on Latina time, so we'll see. I want to know, Patrick, what inspired you to want to connect and work with Mike and John?
Ooh, that's a great question. Sorry for the people sitting over here in the sun.
People are getting
blasted in the sun. I'll say when I do events, there is an inordinate amount of sun that comes out, whether it's heat or light. It's too much, and I apologize. What made me want to work with these two? Well, to start off, when I moved back to Indy in 2020 and started to go on this journey, I had never really had a community of people that I had built up here in the city. I only stayed hanging out with the friends, one of whom is here, that I knew from the town I grew up in, and just was comfortable there. I wasn't comfortable in my own skin, but I was comfortable in the mask that I'd created to wear. And so in June and July and August of 2020, I started to tear that mask down a little bit and search for what that place was, what that community looked like. Fast forward to 2023, I am making the decision to focus solely on Indianapolis for the show. And I'm like, I'm here for a reason. Let me lean into that reason. And one of the things that I was also doing at the time was working on a project titled Asian America at the Crossroads, specifically highlighting the Asian American diaspora here in Indianapolis. And I wanted to work only with Asian American creators here in the city. And so that's how I came across Mike Lee. He had worked with shouted out person on the show, Samson Livingston. He had shouted him out on Instagram. And I clicked on his profile and I was like, oh, that's an Asian photographer. Let me go ahead and hit him up. And we sat down, we had an incredible conversation, and I knew that we needed to work together. And so I was like, before we work on this project, let's do a podcast. Like, I do a podcast, please come film it, and we'll see what that looks like. And it was with Olivia West sitting back here. She was episode 70. We sat down and had that conversation. And as soon as he sent me the final video, I was like, well, I cannot continue to do the podcast the way that I've been doing it because your quality is so high. I have to continue matching that quality. So instantly I knew I had to work with Mike. Which brings me to John. We ended up recording that episode at Roundtable Recording in Broad Ripple. I had stumbled across Roundtable Recording when I was looking for, where I was exploring podcast studios to record in. And I came across Roundtable and it looked like it was only music. So I said, no, I'll keep looking. Went to the Pattern Creative Summit last year, and John was there with Roundtable. And John was sitting there interviewing different people at the thing, and I sat down and had a 5-minute conversation with him, and I was like, man, you're really good at this. He's like, yeah, and we just kind of left. And then I went to roundtables, like, I think I'm gonna explore what it looks like to record a podcast here because of that experience. And we set up a time, we're like, okay, we're gonna do this. And I came back the next day, and John messaged me, and he's like, hey, I heard you're looking for video too with the podcast. And we looked at somebody I'd already been working with, but then I'd worked with Mike. And it was kind of a no-brainer at that point. And John, again, so easy, so seamless to start having that conversation with, to start working with. And that's what really made me want to work with him, because these were guys that I probably never would have connected with prior because of the unstable foundation of my identity. And because I was moving in a way that I felt really secure in that, I was secure and comfortable in wanting to step out of that comfort zone and start to work with other people instead of trying to do this show by myself.
I'm curious for Mike and John, what has been the impact of being a part of a community-oriented podcast on you?
I primarily do podcasts within my audio work, and conversations are so important in building community, connection, and there's that feedback again. And so basically I'm getting a master class every time I sit down to record a conversation. And that to me is so valuable. And I hope I'm answering that question correctly. I got thrown off by the feedback, but that has been the most impactful part to me, because you're hearing people every day from different backgrounds, industries, and it's a very mind-opening experience to sit and just listen to people talk. And it's been an honor, to do that. So,
yeah, and I think like for me, when about a year and a half ago, I left my 9-to-5 job, and I was super excited. Grass is always greener. Being your own boss is really great, but what you miss out on are those water cooler conversations with your coworkers. How was your weekend? And all those soft little conversations that you had. And being an individual, independent was really cool, but missing out on that community aspect. And so when you have a community-driven person like Patrick in your life every single week, it's almost hard not to grow community and to meet all of you wonderful people. And I think being in Indianapolis in your 20s, especially straight out of college, is so empowering. Just because there are amazing people here, you just have to look in the right spots.
I'm curious about what is the impact? Why is story so important to you, Patrick? What do you believe is true about story?
Sure. So stories are important to me because I was adopted. So I shout out my parents. If you look at them, they are white people. I am not a white person. But we grew up in a small rural town here in Indiana. And at a certain point, I grew up thinking that not only did I want to be this white person, but I thought of myself as that. And so that was my story for a long time. Or how I understood my story. However, when I started to go on this journey of identity and unpacking what that meant to me, what I started to learn was I had always been a side character in that story. Whether it was my own story or whether I was a side or beat player in another person's story, I had never really actually taken control of my own narrative. I'd never been the author of the story that I was telling. As I started the podcast, so this is actually the second show that I've reached 100 episodes with. This is a great milestone, but I have another show about the adoptee experience, which we are currently on 166 episodes of. But when we started to do that show and I started to find my voice, what really impacted me and showed me the power of story was listening to other people and understanding that what I was hearing was something that they had never shared with anybody else before. This is specific to the adoptee experience, but something they had never talked about in any uncertain terms to anyone in their lives before, because they didn't feel safe. They didn't feel like they could step into a place of bravery and comfortability to be able to share. They didn't feel supported or affirmed in who they were. So they felt like their story didn't matter. And I think that's because it's a big privilege to tell a story, to share any part of your life with anyone else. For any of us to have a conversation with anyone else, that's a privilege. And I think we have lost the idea of what that means in the grand scheme of things, because I think it's really easy. I think we feel entitled to information when we're having a conversation, because it's like, why wouldn't we want to be personable? Why wouldn't we want to just share? However, you don't know, we never know what's going on. And I think at the end of the day, if we treat storytelling with the respect and the privilege that it deserves, we can actually then meet people where they're at. Then we can start to affirm them and who they are. We can start to support them in how they tell their stories. We can provide safe spaces for them to learn and unpack, and then support them and push them towards bravery. And when they're ready to be brave and share, they can do that. And so that is the power of storytelling for me, is simply because I found my way to be moving through safety, understanding and unpacking my story, to stepping into that brave space, to being able to start utilizing and telling it. And so that's the impact. Thank you.
How has co-creating a podcast together made you better?
I mean, I can maybe just lead off based on conversations we've had. I mean, I think we all play our roles and play our positions very well. We're very capable at our craft. We take some of the technical heavy lifting off Patrick, which we've talked about. And I think that just adds an easier flow to what everybody's doing, and allows everybody to focus on what they want to focus on. And I think it makes it smoother with the team.
And yeah, I mean, playing at your strengths is so empowering, especially outside of this podcast. I'm usually a one-man band. I'm getting to that production level where, hiring out people, and that's really nice because, you're not wearing multiple different hats. And audio is so important, especially in a podcast. And for me not to have to worry about that and to have the faith of John over there, just like, I could, I remember All-Star Weekend, we were filming in, I think, like a dining hall. It sounded like a dining hall. But, John, you made it sound just absolutely flawless. So, iron sharpens iron.
Absolutely, and I'll throw that back. It's just the same with video, and I think there's a really great interplay there, and it just allows you to host and focus on research. So,
yeah, I'll say working with these two, working with a team has made me better, because I don't have to worry about some of these little technical aspects. I can really focus on the research. I can focus on the hosting, and I can. So they can attest to this. After every single conversation I have, I walk you out. If you've been on the podcast, I'll walk you out. Then I'll go back in the room and I'll go, was that any good? Because when I'm interviewing someone, it's so present in that moment. Like, I don't fully recall like what's just happened. And generally I'm such a harsh self-critic that I assume that it went terribly. And so to be affirmed by these guys, truly affirmed, and not just like yes man, but just like they actually will be like, that was good, or like, yeah, there was this point or that point, and we can talk about like what that looks like. It helps to have a team to do that, as opposed to just going home by yourself and scouring the edit for hours and hours and hours and thinking, oh, I got to take that little part out, or I should have said this question differently. So then you're editing the video to make it seem like you said the question correctly, and then it's like, no, this isn't real. This isn't authentic. And so I've just gotten better because I can rely on these two to elevate the podcast, and then I can follow their lead and learn when we have instances where you're not available. There's either other people who can help out, or maybe I can step in. So,
one thing that comes to mind for me about the Conversation Piece podcast is this idea that we're shaped by the stories that we inhabit. So like the stories that we tell ourselves become true about us or our lives. And I'm curious, like, what stories have shaped you all in your work and in your craft? And then like a follow-up question to that, if you want to play around and just imagine more, like how has being shaped by those stories brought you to where you are? If you need me to shorten it, I can. It's kind of long-winded.
So I'm not drawing any specific stories, but I do just want to go back to the idea of community being at the center of the show. So I guess here's how I'll answer this question. when I decided to be solely focused on Indianapolis, it was like, I will only do Indianapolis-based things. So my guests will be based here in Indianapolis so I can film in person. The people I work with, post-production will be based here in Indianapolis because I want to support Indianapolis creators. The sponsors and the partners and the people that I work with that support the show are going to be from Indianapolis, based in Indianapolis, because I want to support the people here. So those are the stories that shape the show and shape me and how I approach it. Because when I took that step, it was selfishly because when I was here before, I did not build the community that way. And I did not have any of that. And so I'm trying to catch up to all of my 20s where I didn't do any of this community building to build community. And so I have to be shaped by the people around me in order to find out where do I fit into this space. And had I not been intentional about that, I think the show would still have impact and we would still be impacting people in the way that we approach storytelling. But I wanted to be, particularly for my son, establish this foundation, this bedrock here in Indianapolis for myself and for our family. So that way when he grows up and he is living here, navigating the world and navigating Indianapolis, he has the buffers, the foundation, the people around him that we have took time and intention to build to grow with and to live with. Something that I didn't have, something that I never had here in Indianapolis, through my own fault, through faults of, exterior. But at the end of the day, there's the choice to be intentional about it if we have the opportunity to do so. And I have that opportunity now. So that's how those stories shape me. It's shaping literally the why of the show. Even though it's rooted in my own personal why, it's very much also rooted within the broader community.
Yeah.
And I would say on two fronts, it's been impactful for me. First, as a videographer, we're always taught story is king, story is first. And that's so true. And also to see, these two pursuing their craft and pursuing story in another medium is also really inspiring. And it's like, okay, well, all of these people that Patrick has on is trying to tell a story. You try and tell stories with your flowers, and you're very intentional with, the arrangements that you bring to the show. And that is so inspiring because you could find inspiration and you could find art in any profession. And then also just as a human being to grow in different perspectives. And, everyone has their own opinions, everyone has their own biases, but to actually dig deep and to investigate other people's stories and saying, okay, A, I'm not alone in my own struggles. And two, wow, I never thought about it like this way. That's really cool.
That's a great point, and I'll kind of follow on that. I think, a lot of life happens around the stories we tell ourselves in our head about ourselves, about the world around us. What drew me to want to record podcasts is that I consumed podcasts. I love watching interviews because there's a bit of therapy there for me in relating to whoever's speaking. And, I think the biggest impact, just hearing other people share their stories, like Mike said, allows you to kind of go back to where you're at in your head and say, oh, well, this person feels that way too. Or maybe I'm thinking about this, in a way that's not good for me, So I'll just button that up by saying I think everybody else's story has also helped the story, that is on play in my head. You talk about your therapy journey, and it's just beneficial to hear people communicate where they're at, mentally and in their hearts.
Tell me a little bit about the creation process of the podcast. So tell me, I want to know about your process, Patrick, around creating and curating a conversation. And because it is very intentional. I was on the podcast and I know the questions that you asked me were from a place of a lot of I could tell that you deeply care about me as a person on your show. And I think that that's true of each guest. And so tell me about that process around curating conversations in a way that's really intentional and still natural concurrently.
Sure. So the first step happened in December of last year when I started to follow a bunch of people from Indianapolis. And then I technically didn't build a database, but I'm following a lot of you, close to probably 1,000 of people who I would like to have on the show. There are a lot of people happening in Indianapolis, y'all. I'm telling you, there's a lot of cool stuff happening. But from there, it's just like reaching out to people, identifying people that I want to have on, conversations I want to have on, release weekly. We record up to 4 times a month to have enough for the next month. But we're never overextending because I know they got other stuff that they're doing. And again, I want to have, whenever we do a show, I want the focus to be on that guest. We've only recorded 2 episodes in the same day one time, and they both were great, but I did not care to do that because I felt like it was a disservice to the person across from me. Then about a week out from, we'll schedule, and then about a week out from recording, I'll start to do research, which starts with a Google of your name. I will pull up every article that is written about you. Then I'll pull up everything on the first 3 pages that is about you. I will then read as many articles as I can. I will watch at least 1 interview if you have a full interview, or 2 multiple like small interviews. You do like Wish TV, some on there, 30 seconds. I'm watching it. I'm looking for stuff that people have asked you, questions that you might not have enjoyed, questions that you really enjoyed, but really I'm looking for things to not ask you again. My process when I approach a conversation is I want it to be a conversation. I want y'all to come sit across from me and be like, I'm not here in an interview. That's why we don't face the cameras. The cameras are facing us because we're talking to each other. That's it. And at the end of the day, like, I want to share the missing piece of whatever conversation you're involved in. And if all we talk about is some really wild stuff that you really enjoy or some crazy thing that happened that you're like, we need to get into this, we can get into it. Because I guarantee there's some part of you and your story that's tied into that. And the research will play that out. We'll show that out. Because generally, so I'll say this, Murdoch's sitting over there. Murdoch is probably the most referenced guest that I've had on the show because I reference him nearly every time. Because something always comes up. But I bring him up because he was a guest that I was really excited to get on the show who said yes. And somebody that I'd been following and was really respected the work of and the words of. And I knew I had to do a really good job on the research aspect for this person. And so I did all of those things. And he has a TED Talk, if you don't know. I think it's maybe like 4 or 5 minutes. I don't know how long it is, but he has a TED Talk, had about 418 views on it when I found it. And so I watched it, maybe one of the most impactful TED Talks that I've ever seen. I watched it 3 times in a row, twice on the way in the car to have that conversation. Because I knew that I needed to be ready for whatever was about to happen. And I wanted to do a good job. And not only did things from that TED Talk play out, but lyrics from For Naptown to the World came out because he EP'd on that. Like, there are different things about a person that are available. And I'm gonna do that research so I wanna know those things about you. But I also want you to share those, and hopefully those come out organically in the conversation. I will never force you to share something that you don't want to share. And if we have to afterwards, if you feel like, hey, there's something that I said that I really didn't care for to say, we'll cut it out. If you feel like that's the thing, we'll cut it out. I've been part of podcasts that refuse to take stuff out because it's now their IP. I will never do that to you. But because at the end of the day, our stories are sacred. And at the end of the day, like a podcast, it's recorded for a reason. Like, you get that opportunity. And this place, we're supposed to be talking about my process, and I'm just getting into it now. But this is the reason. Like, this is the foundation. This is why I do it, is because it's about appreciation. It's about love. It's about respect for the person across from me and about respecting the privilege of their story. And so that's always at the top of mind in my process. But I am doing those deep dives. So most of you out here in the crowd, gonna have you on the show at some point. I am looking into your lives, not like a private investigator, but I am looking into it. So that's my process. Sorry.
Thank you for sharing. I'd like to kind of create some conversation now and turn it to you all if you'd be willing. And just ask the question, like, what has been impactful about being a guest on Conversation Piece?
Great question.
Yeah, what has been meaningful to you? And if you want to just you can just blurt it out. Yeah, I'll open the floor. And then we'll come back to you all.
You don't have to share if you don't want
Liv
to.
in the back.
I see a hand up.
Liv.
So one of the best parts, I think, about being on the podcast is that you provided such a high-quality experience from end to end. Like, it was a pleasure to come and have a conversation and leave. Like, I got there really good, and I also left really, really, really good. Another thing is your snippets that you got out for us. I mean, not every conversation and statement's going to be perfect, but you really did choose ones that were crisp, that were clear, that were the best representations of ourselves, so that we can share those with our followers, friends, and family. So, from experience being on a lot of podcasts, it was authentic. It made me feel good. I shared with Patrick not too long ago that sometimes I don't feel great, after a podcast. Maybe they ask me about things I didn't want to talk about, or maybe they just didn't even care enough to learn anything about me before I walked in the door.
Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah,
Make me
thanks,
cry.
Liv.
Thanks, Liv.
Yeah, go ahead.
I say to feed off of that, really feed off what Lydia just said.
Do you want a microphone or no?
Do I need mic? Y'all hear me?
I think we're good.
Yeah, give Murdoch a mic.
Okay, my bad, Liv.
Good call.
Yeah, you want
Absolutely.
You could take the chair if you want.
Oh, no, I ain't got to do all that.
Okay.
Peace and blessings. No, I probably say, just like what Olivia said, it's wild, bro. I had just gone through a breakup, like 10 minutes before I walked into the studio. And
Damn.
so, literally, had to break up, walked in. But it speaks to what Olivia said. You never know what your guest's finna go through when they come into your space. But you center my story, and I told you, I've been on a number of podcasts, like Olivia said, and the research spoke through. And shoot, I can say it now publicly, and I will. I ain't never had an interview like I had with you, never in my life, because it really was a conversation. And it was a conversation like somebody I knew, but I had just met. And you just gave me a look at myself that I hadn't had before. And so I could not share, because by sharing, I was discovering new parts of me. And man, that's a freaking blessing. So shout out to you, my dog. It was amazing, bro. And if y'all ain't tapped in, y'all need to tap in expeditiously, because he knows what he's doing for sure.
My man, thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
With the words, too.
I'd like to have a few more people share. If you're willing, feel free to come on up.
You don't have to, though. Again.
Oh, you don't have
can
to,
share,
but
Madeline.
it's an invitation. I can share too, but
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Oh, for recording purposes, we'll have you on the mic.
My bad. I'm making y'all work. I'm sorry. But you look so good in that outfit. You can just, we're over here.
Frida's Flowers, I just love you. That was the first show that I had ever been on where I received such an opulent gift at the end. Those flowers, they were just, they're the kind of arrangement that you would hope that someone would send you, because you could tell that the quality was there, the care was there, and also the cost was there. So it was a huge blessing. And this is not a dig, the next thing that I want to say, to any other show that's trying to make it in Indy, but I do say that y'all are the reason why people don't start shows, because it's so good. Am I right?
Thank you.
The quality, I would pay to be on your show. The clips that I got, I'm serious. I'm about to buy a t-shirt because I owe you. You know what I'm saying? And so the reality, though, is that a lot of things are pay to play. And the fact that we received as guests, such as Olivia was saying, such intricate and detailed and excellent digital collateral that we can reuse over and over and over again, you're putting money back in creators' pockets right here in Indianapolis. So I just want to say thank you for speaking life into us. Thank you for investing your funds into us, because, you got to travel outside of Indianapolis to get that kind of quality on a podcast. So can we just give them a round of applause for that?
Thank you.
J-Mag. I'm gonna let this keep rolling. It's okay.
I was
Just
not
put the mic
prepared
down.
to be
Just put the mic down.
with that.
Anybody else want to share? Impact story? I know for me, being on the podcast, can y'all still hear me? Yeah. Being on the podcast for me was, I think it was did you say something about like you connect to your own like story? You get, like you get to like, it's like a very non-threatening like therapy. It's like not therapy, but it's like you're sharing stuff that like can feel very vulnerable to share. And like the way that you create an environment around like the sacredness of a story makes it possible to share. Not easy necessarily, but possible to share. Which like what that does is that it's an invitation for like people to know you more deeply, to maybe have like a glimpse into your own story, your own life in a way that they might not just by seeing you do your thing on social media or whatever. Like it's really cool to have that opportunity. And so you're creating like gifts, you're creating like moments of deep connection to self, and to like the broader community that like gets to witness, like bear witness to what you're sharing. So thank you. Yeah. One more round of applause for the stories. All right, we have a few more minutes left. I want to get into a little bit about like the future of Conversation Piece. So for all of you, because those comments, like they apply to all of you. Like you're the person like creating, like birthing it, and you two have been like
the environment midwives. Is not a safe place if they do not also approach it in the same way.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
It's definitely a co-creative process. And I'm curious about what the future holds for Conversation Piece. What dreams are being birthed? What do you hope comes about in the next few months for Conversation Piece?
All right, organizations, you better be opening your wallets. Anyways, what I'm really excited about is, so we're dropping this episode next week. This is 100. And then we are going to take an intentional break from releasing, not from creating, not from doing things with the show, but from releasing, simply to take a step back and have an actual team meeting where we strategize about what we're doing on the show and what we're putting out in terms of the rest of 2024. Still focused on indie, still focused on everything that's happening in all the different communities here, and elevating it into another place. One of my big dreams is that Conversation Piece acts as a launching pad for other shows. I've had a lot of people since I started the show in indie reach out to me who want to come on the show. Unfortunately, I don't have the bandwidth or the space on this particular show to have every single person on. However, there is a lot of space for us to create other shows that sit in this idea of storytelling and then amplifies that. There are so many voices in Indianapolis that are not heard, that don't have the opportunity to be heard, and there is no accessibility for them unless we go out and we listen and we hear what they're saying. And that's what I'm hoping we can achieve here. That's what this is here. That's what I'm hoping to continue to build from, is this new series, more shows, more opportunities to tell stories. On top of that, more events as well. Kelsey has been helping me ideate on a lot of different things that we can do. I'm also taking a lot of inspiration from Mr. Stretch over here. I do want to shout out really quickly, Follow D-Money. I know that Jennifer gave an incredible shout out to my podcast, but I do want to shout out Stretch. He has been a big inspiration for any podcasters for me because of the way you converse with folks. I take a lot of that conversational aspect of you and your show into my show, so thank you for that. Events. So we're planning some small pop-up style things called either Pizza with Patrick or Conversation Bites. I can't decide, but we are going to be going into communities.
We can take a poll.
We're going to be bringing guests into community spaces. We're going to invite the community out. They're going to be free events. We're going to grab something easy, a coffee, a pizza, or whatever. And we're going to sit here and have a conversation in that community about what do we need here? What's missing? How do we identify it? And how do we fix this? Or how do we start to address it? And so I want to continue to have small conversations like that out in the community with people, with folks, take stakeholders out there to really start to engage and have those conversations. And then just thinking about what other places we can show up at. So we were at the City League basketball tournament this past weekend. Awesome. I'm a big sports guy, so want to continue to show up at sporting events. But whatever it might be, the best part about Conversation Piece is it's open to whatever. We can enter into any conversation if we're invited into doing so, and we can figure out what it is that we need to talk about, and we can share that. And so if y'all got stuff going on, let us know. We'd love to find out ways that we can come and amplify the stories of the people attending your events, whatever that might be. That's what we got cooking, but I think there's some other stuff I don't really know at the moment. Do you guys know of anything we're doing?
Basketball. basketball podcast?
Yeah, potentially. Patrick might get on a, yeah. I just want to do more events. I love events. I love that, I'll be sitting listening to one conversation and think, oh, this person should meet this person, and events like this, going back to building community through conversation, this is where everybody gets to sit in the room. Oh, I listened to you on this episode. I didn't know you. It's great to meet you. So hopefully we can continue to do more events like this and just bring, the movers and shakers together,
And I will say, nothing is out of the picture. I think one of the most iconic texts that you text in the group chat was, can we do a walking podcast? Like, can we, like while walking, because there's an organization, that they walk, can we somehow record high quality audio and video and like just my gear list in my head is just running through of like camera like settings, and I'm about to call these two guys, just like trying to brainstorm how to do that. But like you mentioned, conversations happen anywhere and everywhere. As long as we're invited, I'm happy to be there.
My last question is also for you all around what hopes and like dreams you might have for the Conversation Piece podcast, if any. So I'll open the floor again. No pressure, but if you're willing, it's an invitation to speak. Yeah. Yeah, sure. That'd be great. Thank you. Sorry to make you all work. Thank you.
I'll follow in the footsteps. I'll stand right here. So I've only talked to you like once at a coffee shop, but I read people through their eyes and I can tell you're a very genuine person, because in the creator space, you don't meet a lot of genuine people. And so I'm going to be vulnerable and set this out there. I am a trans creator starting in a kind of limbo where I was born female and everyone can tell I'm female and I'm fighting with my own body, right? And so I was like, can I even be a trans advocate if I'm not even like fully transitioned or in this place? Especially when Indiana hates trans kids so much. Like I'm 19 and I have to walk around and like listen to things people have to say and things like that. And I want to switch that up because media changes things and media changes the game a lot. How many kids like me are stuck in this awful limbo? And how many of us need that creator out here that's going to be present, be in the community, be loud, and say that like trans people are not going anywhere. We've been here. There's adults that haven't been able to transition. And there's so many things. And we talk about like queer rights, and do queer people also fight for the T in LGBT? And so that's something that I hope that, I would love to work with you on platforming and creating, even in the smallest notion, or to bring that up in conversation, because I want these kids to stay alive. So, and I love that.
Were you finished? It's okay. Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you.
I appreciate you so much. Thank you for sharing that, because when we talk about the future of the show, that is something that I am very aware of. Is one of the things I'm really proud of in terms of the guest lists that have come on from Indy is it's all over the place. Like there are people who do all different kinds of things, operate in all different kinds of industries, come from different backgrounds, and I love it. That's awesome. And there are a lot of gaps. There are a lot of places that we've missed that we have to cover. And at the end of the day, when I talk about like storytelling is sacred because everybody's story is sacred.
That's
not
right.
because some stories are sacred, or not because the ones that I are comfortable with, or I am comfortable with, or I deem important are sacred. All of them are. And again, we have to be able to treat that with respect. And on the show, we're not perfect, and there are many ways that we could improve. But one of the ways that I want to continue to grow the show is just continuing to add to the complexity of lived experiences that appear. And again, just the stories that are shared. I hope it's a safe place for you to share that. And if not, I hope we can create that space for you, whether it's on my show or another person's platform, to be able to do so. Because you're right, kids should not be afraid to not only live as themselves, but to just live in general. Like that's not right. And we live in a state that doesn't affirm people in that way. And so we have a lot of work that we can do. And as a show that has a public platform in that way, we can be a part of that change. So I want to continue to do that, and I appreciate you sharing that.
Thanks, Patrick. Yeah. Other hopes, dreams for Conversation Piece? One hope that I have is that we could incorporate like more poetry.
Oh, okay.
And like actual like I think poetry into the podcast would be really interesting.
Speaking my language.
That's one. Anyone else? Cool. Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing. Thank you, all three of you, for the work that you have put into creating this podcast. As you can tell, it has been meaningful and it has created a sense of belonging and a sense of courage around sharing our stories. And so thank you. Also, like Indianapolis is a small city and it's a really empowered city and it's also a small city. And so when you're sharing your stories in a small city, that can feel really vulnerable. So thank you for also being people who care enough to like tend to the people who are actually on your show, not just like, hey, like you're not taking advantage of us and you are actually like listening and you're sharing and you're elevating and you're empowering our stories. And so thank you. Because this podcast could just be something that you're doing like, cause it's cool or whatever, but it you actually care, you do. And so thank you. I think we can all sense that. And yeah, I just want to say thank you for being so open, all three of you, to creating something that does provide a sense of meaning and courage around storytelling in our city. There are a lot of those kinds of places, but this is one place and you've done a really excellent job curating it. So thank you. Yeah. Any last
Thank you.
last minute
Thanks, Madeline.
comments, questions from you?
Do you have any last parting?
I just want to thank everybody for listening and for coming. This has been awesome. There's a lot of very dope, impactful people out there in the crowd, and it's just an honor to be here talking to them.
Couldn't agree more. Yeah. Thank you guys.
Same. I have one piece, I guess, of parting advice because I feel like I have to continue to speak impactfully for whatever reason. I think one of the other driving things of the show that I learned recently was how do you enter in and positively impact a community if you don't ask that community what things they need an impact for. And I think something that I've noticed has been how extractive we can be of our own communities sometimes. And I just want to say that the reason I bring this up is anytime the show steps into any space or anytime we have anybody come through to share, and for whatever reason, after that, even after all these nice words, like something happens where you feel extracted from, do not hesitate to come and have a conversation with me because we're going to talk about it and figure it out. Because again, the goal is to never harm you in terms of what you're sharing and why you've shared it. And I understand that at the end of the day, sometimes stuff happens despite the intention and the intentionality put into it. And I just want to say, we've heard a lot of very nice things about the work that we've done on the show tonight. Thank you all for saying that. And we're not above accountability. I hope nobody is, but we are definitely not above accountability on the show. And we want to continue to be accountable to y'all, the people who've come on the show, the people who listen to the show, and the community that we operate in. So whenever something might happen with the show that you feel like, hey, that's not the vibe, let's talk about it.
Thank you for saying that. Yeah, I think we can all agree that that's felt. So thank you.
Cool.
Well, thank you all for being here. Let's give it up again for the conversation piece for the 100th episode for the Conversation Piece podcast team. Thank you for, You're
good. Shout out to Madeline for rocking it as an incredible moderator. The reason I had her come up here, she's been doing it with the Friends of Frida's now for a couple weeks, killing it. Actually, I don't like that language. Crushing it. Thank you all for being here. We have two amazing folks here, Ujama Bookstore, Style by Fee. Go check out their stuff. Support them. If you don't have anything right now, if you need a good book to read, go get you a book. They got some dope books over there. Last but not least, we have the St. Avenue Conversation Piece shirts. They will be out on the table if they're not already back out there. $30 a pop. We have small through 2X, I believe. 99 of them left. We'll have them up later if you want. We're doing Venmo, PayPal, and straight up cash, I guess. We'll figure it out however you want to do it. But that's about it. Thank you all so much for making this night incredible, and I appreciate y'all.
Thank you.
Great find. Turn it up.